Phoenix, the news of Rob Gronkowski's retirement wafted over the annual NFL meetings at the stately old Arizona Biltmore at mid-afternoon Sunday, and there was universal respect from the NFL community for a tight end who played with joy and a brutal effectiveness. "It was a privilege to compete against him," Baltimore coach and Patriot rival John Harbaugh said in the Biltmore lobby, "and to say, win or lose, big games, everything in our sport on the line. Thank you, God, for the chance to be able to compete against a player like Rob Gronkowski, best tight end of his era, and he did it his way, in a place, Foxborough, that's not usually suited to players doing things their way," Niners GM John Lynch said. "He did it the right way, the way a real football player does it," NFL VP and former cornerback Troy Vincent said. "A few things I know about the retirement after an evening of reporting here. Some connected with the Patriots felt strongly early last week that Gronkowski was likely to retire, and it chagrins the organization that the free agent receiver, tight end crop is now totally denuded after established tight end Jared Cook, who I am told will not reconsider his decision, committed to signing with New Orleans last week. It's no exaggeration to say the Patriots' skill position players, post-Gronk, might be the worst in the Belichick era." Agent Drew Rosenhaus' version of the events told to me late Sunday night here at the Biltmore. He said Bill Belichick reached out to Rosenhaus on Thursday to check about his tight end status. Rosenhaus called Gronkowski and said he should give the Patriots a decision soon. And on Sunday afternoon, before Rosenhaus flew from Fort Lauderdale to Phoenix, he said the 29-year-old Gronkowski called him to make the retirement official. "It was time," Rosenhaus said. Gronkowski's words, via Rosenhaus, "It's time. I just won another championship. I'm going out on top. I just want to do nothing for a while. I just want to be me. I just want to have fun." Gronkowski's friend and Patriot backup, Dwayne Allen, told me Sunday night he was not surprised by the decision. "It was a day-to-day thing in the tight end room last year in New England," Allen said. He'd say, "This is it," and then, after being able to think about it in the off-season, he came to that same conclusion. View this post on Instagram. "It all started at 20 years old on stage at the NFL draft when my dream came true, and now here I am about to turn 30 in a few months with a decision I feel is the biggest of my life so far. I will be retiring from the game of football today. I am so grateful for the opportunity that Mr. Kraft and Coach Belichick gave to me when drafting my silliness in 2010. My life experiences over the last 9 years have been amazing both on and off the field. The people I have met, the relationships I have built, the championships I have been a part of. I just want to thank the whole New England Patriots organization for every opportunity I have been giving and learning the great values of life that I can apply to mine. Thank you to all of Pats Nation around the world for the incredible support since I have been a part of this first-class organization. Thank you for everyone accepting who I am and the dedication I have put into my work to be the best player I could be. But now it's time to move forward and move forward with a big smile, knowing that the New England Patriots organization, Pats Nation, and all my fans will be truly a big part of my heart for rest of my life. It was truly an incredible honor to play for such a great established organization and able to come in to continue and contribute to keep building success. To all my current and past teammates, thank you for making each team every year special to be a part of. I will truly miss you guys. Cheers to all who have been part of this journey, cheers to the past for the incredible memories, and a huge cheers to the uncertain of what's next." A post shared by Rob Gronkowski, @Gronk, on March 24, 2019 at 2:53 p.m. Pacific Daylight Saving Time. The Patriots are a lesser team today, obviously, because of Gronkowski's retirement after 9 starry seasons. But who can blame him? After 3 back surgeries, 4 arm surgeries, an ACL surgery, multiple concussions, and calf, quad and Achilles injuries, Gronkowski entered the NFL in 2010 with a pesky herniated disc condition, and in his 131 games since, he survived his physical maladies to be one of the best tight ends ever. He blocked as well as any tight end of this generation, and unlike so many gifted offensive tight ends, he embraced blocking as part of his job. He caught the ball downfield as well as any tight end of this generation. The other three greats of this century, Jason Witten, Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates, averaged between 10.8 and 12.4 yards per reception. Gronkowski averaged 15.1, more than Jerry Rice, 14.8, and Tyreek Hill, 14.6. More than anything, Gronkowski was there when his team needed him. This year, New England milked him through the middle part of the season, but he played all 169 offensive snaps in two tight games, the AFC title game, 97, and the Super Bowl, 72. On the 81st New England snap of the title game, Gronkowski beat Eric Berry for a 25-yard completion to set up the go-ahead touchdown in the final minute of the fourth quarter. On the 94th snap, and on perhaps the biggest third-down conversion of his career, Gronkowski beat Eric Berry for a 15-yard pass to set up the winning score in overtime. On the 60th offensive play of the Super Bowl, in a 3-3 duel with the Rams, he went 29 yards down the seam to catch a Tom Brady pass, setting up the winning touchdown. He told Rosenhaus, "I'm going out on top." That he certainly is. It's the tight end equivalent of Jim Brown retiring on the set of The Dirty Dozen in London in 1966, coming off an MVP season as the 65 rushing champ for Cleveland. Gronkowski played his last game for New England at 29 years, 9 months. Brown played his last game for Cleveland at 29 years, 10 months. Gronkowski's decision is sepia-toned this morning, and the Patriots will sometime soon celebrate his 9-year contributions to one of the great teams ever to play the sport. He was well-liked and respected as a teammate, those inside the team say, because of his reliability, his toughness and his daily personality. Said Dwayne Allen, "Not only was he a great player against any defense, double teams, triple teams, tripped by defensive ends, covered by great corners, but he was one of the guys all the time. He was Rob with the media, Rob in the locker room, Rob on the field. And if he was hurt, or hurting, he never talked about it. And as a competitor, I haven't met many like him. I was at his house once, playing basketball, and once, he just turned it on. He stepped behind the three-point line and started draining threes. Where'd that come from? That was just Rob. Yes, there will be cool Gronk stories. But in football terms for New England, reality bites. So much about him walking away is bad news for the franchise. It leaves the Patriots woefully short of offensive weapons as they try to remain the game's dominant team. They do not have an established NFL tight end, and after free agent Allen signed in Miami, the tight end depth chart, Steven Anderson, Matt Lacosi, Jacob Hollister, Brian Izzo, is the worst in the NFL. Julian Edelman is coming off his Super Bowl MVP performance, but there is no veteran help for him beyond Chris Hogan, and there is no consistent deep threat on the roster other than the occasionally effective Philip Dorsett. The running backs are fine, Sony Michel keys that group. But if Tom Brady takes the field at 42 with that group of receivers, good luck to him. Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady. Getty Images. Lucky for the Patriots, there are 3 legitimate first-round tight ends in this year's draft. With 6 picks between 32 and 101, New England will be able to move around to position itself for a tight end and wide receiver early. But we're assuming all picks hit, and that's a bad assumption, even for the wise Patriots. More likely, a pre-draft trade, A.J. Green, Mohamed Sanu, Sterling Shepard. Using the Patriots draft capital wouldn't surprise me. Rosenhaus, 31 years an agent, was a bit melancholy Sunday night. "I'm in a daze," he said, sitting by the huge lawn in the back of the Biltmore. Representing Rob was so much fun, something special. Such a great guy, and always the same. Always up. You try as an agent to do everything you can for your clients, and I asked Rob if there was anything I could do for him, if there was anything I could ask the Patriots to make his job better. He said no, there's really not anything. And I asked his dad, you sure he wants to give up $10 million this year? He told me, Drew, he's got all the money he needs. So that's it, or is it? Rosenhaus said it wouldn't shock him if Gronkowski decided to come back sometime in 2019. We'll see. There's nothing to indicate a return to football now. For now, there's a void in New England, and in the NFL. A really fun player, a really good player, walked away with something left in the tank. The NFL won't be popular in New Orleans this week. Not that Roger Goodell could get a table at Emeril's now anyway, but during a meeting of NFL coaches and GMs here late Sunday afternoon, a show of hands was asked for. How many teams favored a new rule that would allow challenges of penalties not called on the field such as pass interference? That rule's tweak, of course, would be to remedy the defensive pass interference call not made late in the NFC title game that helped propel the Rams, instead of the Saints, to the Super Bowl. Less than 8 hands went up. At least 24 teams would have to vote in favor of the rule for it to become law in the NFL. Clearly, there are factions of the membership who say, where does it end? With every foul or non-foul reviewable? NFL Executive Vice President of Football Operations Troy Vincent told me Sunday night. Rules change that will have a far better chance when Tuesday's vote is taken, one that would make offensive and defensive pass interference calls, flagged on the field, subject to review. That will do nothing to address the Saints' gripe from the title game. I got 2 views of the prospects of that proposal at the hotel Sunday. Some on the competition committee are optimistic that the proposal to challenge interference calls on the field for a 1-year trial will get 24 votes. I'm not so sure of that, said one other member of the committee. I think it's going to be very close. It might need some arm twisting. There's just not enough support for reviewing interference not called on the field, said competition committee member John Harbaugh. So let's just take what we can get, work on training the officials better, work on having the same crew together in the playoffs, instead of all-star crews comprised of officials unfamiliar with each other, and attack it that way. We need to make progress, Vincent said. It's a progression, maybe over time. If that measure passes, Rules Proposal 6 on the league's agenda here, allowing a 1-year experiment with interference calls able to be challenged, it would leave non-calls like the one in the Saints game unaffected. The committee, and by extension the league, is going to be questioned harshly if that happens. This is a democratic process, Vincent said. This is something that the 32 teams dictate by their votes. I've been on record as saying that it will not be in the best interests of the league if we leave Arizona without a new rule about interference in place. We shouldn't push it off till the meetings in May. I believe we need to be voting with the coaches in the room. Getty Images. Vincent was referring to the possibility of tabling the pass interference review proposal until the league's annual May meetings, this year in Key Biscayne, Florida. But it clearly is an option. The NFL, which clearly wants some change, could take a straw vote during Tuesday's debate, and if it feels the measure would fail to get 24 votes, the league could table it for 2 months, hoping to convince some skeptical owners to change their minds in a meeting that is traditionally not attended by the coaches. A couple of things I've heard here. Multiple teams feel replay it far too intrusive on the game, and they are leaning against voting for an expansion of the system at all. And some teams fear the unintended consequences of allowing challenges of plays on the field that went unflagged. Example, the Miami Miracle play, the one that allowed Kenyon Drake to take a lateral and weave through the New England defense for the winning touchdown in the dying seconds of a 2018 game. Suppose the rule was on the books that allowed New England to review the play, and suppose the Patriots had one or more video review spotters in the press box who is doing nothing but studying every one of the 11 foes on every play to see if a foul had been committed. Then, if the Patriots challenged holding on a Miami player away from the play, and it was determined that there was a hold on the play, even if it had nothing to do with the outcome of the play, the review just might negate the touchdown. Is that the game fans want? It's true that the Saints' play won't be fixed here, and I have struggled with that. How can the league say it's doing everything to make the game fair without addressing the rule that might have sent the wrong team to the Super Bowl? My only idea to address everyone's concerns: allow teams to challenge all pass interference calls on the field, or interference calls they think should have been made. Interference only. Mandate no increase in the number of challenges. Most coaches would likely save a challenge for the last 5 minutes of the game, and the games wouldn't likely be appreciably longer. This would allow teams to challenge bad interference calls. So many interference calls are close, said the Giants' Mara. During the process, we were shown the pass interference flags from this season, and we, on the 8-man competition committee, were asked to vote on them and whether they were fouls. On many of them, we voted 4-4. Vincent took 3 pages out of his binder for these meetings Sunday night. They concerned penalties not called from 2016 to 2018 that the league office deemed errors, and then calls made incorrectly in the same 3 seasons. Some 24 of the 50 incorrect calls were defensive pass interference penalties. You can bet he'll use the PowerPoint sheet to try to convince the teams on the fence about replay expansion to vote yes. We could have corrected 24 obvious incorrect calls in the last 3 years, he's likely to say. And the naysayers will counter, how much more replay? Why more replay? Should be an interesting debate here. There will be time for Goodell and Vincent to lobby skeptical teams during today's sessions, and again tonight when the league has a cocktail party attended by everyone here. The one thing I've seen over the years is when the league really wants something, it pushes hard to get it. My money's on the league winning, either Tuesday here or in Florida in May. Questions for Giants co-owner John Mara, and answers, on the trade of franchise receiver Odell Beckham Jr. 13 days ago, FMIA, how hard was it for you to do this? Mara, I had very mixed feelings about it, because I happen to like the kid. I have 2 grandsons who sobbed uncontrollably when I called to tell them that we had traded him, one of whom is still not talking to me. They both said they're going to be Browns fans this year. So that's the effect he has. They're 7 years old, and they think he's a god. I liked him a lot personally. He's different. He's not a bad kid. Dave Gettleman, the Giants GM, and I had a long talk about it. When the Browns made their final offer, I wanted to know, you and Pat Shurmur both want to do this? You're sure? You're absolutely sure? I still said I had to think about it. Then I called him back a little bit later. FMIA, I thought you had to be thinking of Lawrence Taylor, and if your organization could put up with Taylor, surely you could put up with Beckham. Mara, there's an old Bill Parcells quote, Lawrence Taylor is the pilot of a burning plane. Somehow he managed to keep the plane from crashing. But we had a lot of holes to fill. Getting the 1st round pick, getting the 3rd round pick, getting our 4th back from the Kevin Zeidler trade. You can argue whether it's comparable value. I felt better about that than about previous offers that had come down the pike. And he was going out of the conference, out of the division, so it was a reluctant okay. Of course we want to keep our best players. Listen, I had many conversations with him. He had the stupid penalty in Philadelphia where he lifted his leg in the end zone in a faux dog urination scene, and I brought him into my office and I showed him the front page of the New York Post and said, is this what you want? Is this what you want your legacy to be? He looked at me and he said, well, you know, I just don't understand the celebration rules. I said, well, you know you can't do that. FMIA, sounds like you're pretty motivated as a team to build your lines back up in the draft. Mara, I don't know what we're going to do, whether we'll take a quarterback or not. My response is show me what the grades are. But don't force a pick. The worst thing we can do is force it. If we have to wait another year, I don't want to have to do that, but if we have to, I'd rather do that than force it. This thing now about everyone asking, what's the plan? What's the plan? We're trying to build the roster. What do you want me to tell you? Yeah, we're gonna take a quarterback at 6. The plan is to build the roster. It's exasperating. But I learned a long time ago that you're defenseless when you lose. There's nothing you can say. We've got to build our team, and we've got to win. So I'm like most people who watch or work around football. When I heard that the Raiders won the award at the MIT Sloan Sports Analytics Conference for Best Transaction of 2018, for the trade of Khalil Mack to Chicago, I thought it was a story in The Onion. In fact, it was the strong belief of Richard Thaler, winner of the 2017 Nobel Prize for Economics. Thaler is also a football fan. He co-wrote a widely read paper in 2005 on the value of NFL draft choices. We find that top draft picks are overvalued in a manner that is inconsistent with rational expectations, laying out a treatise that the best draft choices actually are those low in the first round and through the second round. He has consulted with an NFL team about the value of draft choices and how to build a team. Thaler, 73, is a professor at the Booth School of Business at the University of Chicago. I reached Thaler, who was on the committee that chose the Mack trade as the transaction of the year. Oakland traded Mack and a second-round pick to Chicago for 4 picks, 2 ones, a 3 and a 5. The Bears then signed Mack to a new contract averaging $23.5 million a year through 2023. The Raiders have the Bears' first pick, 24th overall, in the April draft, and also Chicago's first-round pick in 2020, and Oakland has the 4th overall pick, its own, this April. Here's the argument, Thaler said. The Raiders are down, and they will be getting these 4 picks to help them rebuild their team. I believe the only way to win in football is to have players who play better than their salaries. Let's stipulate that Mack is getting top-of-market value for his services, so it will be hard for him to play better than his salary. Let's also stipulate Mack is worth the money. But is Mack worth all that money plus 4 good draft choices? Now John Gruden can build through these multiple high picks on rookie contracts instead of just having one great player being paid at a market rate. In fact, if Gruden were talking to me, I'd tell him to trade the number 4 pick for multiple picks. I'd trade down every year. If I had a pick in the top 10, and I wasn't drafting a quarterback, I'd want to trade down every year. There's value in multiple high picks versus one pick in the top 10. Bears pass rusher Khalil Mack. Getty Images. A few things to unpack. The thought about multiple high picks being worth more than one is particularly true in a year like this one, when there is very good depth, especially on defense, through 3 rounds. If the Raiders select, say, Alabama's Quinnen Williams at number 4, and he becomes a star, will they do the same things as they did with Mack, and flip him for more picks? If so, would the Raiders ever keep a homegrown star other than at quarterback? Thaler believes they shouldn't. Not to argue with a Nobel Prize winner, but I think it's very hard to watch football and to not think Mack is worth several high picks and 11% of a team's cap, which is about what he is scheduled to earn, on average, over his 6 Chicago seasons. Twice Mack wrecked the Packers last year, though Green Bay won one of the games in a miracle ending, and he was the best player on the field against Arizona and Tampa Bay. The Bears snapped a 4-season last-place streak in 2018, winning the NFC North and improving by 7 victories over 2017, and did so with a so-so quarterback performance by Mitchell Trubisky. I maintain it's fiscally possible to have more than one star taking up significant cap space on a team. The best team of this era, the Patriots, has mostly acted like Thaler suggests, jettisoning players on the verge of making free agent riches or negotiating big contracts. Chandler Jones, Jamie Collins, Trey Flowers, Malcolm Butler, Trent Brown, Nate Solder, in favor of draft choices mostly. That plus Tom Brady's play and Bill Belichick's stratagems have served New England well. But not many other teams routinely let great players walk away. Maybe more teams should. If you could predict that a team would draft above-average or star starters with 2 or 3 of the Mack replacement picks, I'd be more convinced that Thaler is right, and that Oakland won this trade. Of course, we won't know for 2 or 3 years at the earliest. Thaler's no fan of the Cowboys' draft trade value chart, by the way. Teams still use that stupid chart, he said. That chart overvalues high picks. It's a joke. High picks, to me, are overvalued stocks. Smart teams should have a portfolio manager to basically analyze every draft decision or trade, and he thinks football teams should have staffs of analytics experts. Most teams only have one, if any. Football, Toller said, is way behind baseball and basketball. Houston Rockets GM Daryl Morey has a staff of I think 15 full-time analytics guys. Why wouldn't you want to give yourself every edge when you're building a team? It's always good to expose yourself to new ideas. I don't buy everything Toller is selling, but if Oakland drafts well in the next 2 years, he and the MIT Sloan program will look pretty smart. Greatest tight end who ever lived, Fred Gaudelli, multiple Emmy-winning director of NBC's Sunday Night Football telecast, on Rob Gronkowski. 2. In the 9 years that I have known Rob Gronkowski, I have never known him to have a bad day, Patriots owner Robert Kraft. 3. I am truly sorry. I know I have hurt and disappointed my family, my close friends, my coworkers, our fans and many others who rightfully hold me to a higher standard, Patriots owner Robert Kraft, apologizing Saturday for his connection to the prostitute soliciting case in Florida. The Giants' plan should be to draft Dwayne Haskins at any cost. They would have to have blindfolds on to not see how good he is. Boomer Esiason, the 1988 NFL MVP and current Morning Drive host on WFAN in New York, after watching the Ohio State quarterback's pro day workout in Columbus last week. Then wants to win his way, and that's tough to play with. He's at the stage where he wants to control everything, and the team let him get there. Le'Veon Bell, the former Steelers and New Jets running back, on Pittsburgh quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, to the MMQB's Jenny Fuentes, in a story for Sports Illustrated. Bell said Roethlisberger was a factor in his decision to leave the Steelers in free agency. Former Pro Bowl linebacker Chris Spielman, now a Fox NFL analyst, lost his wife Stephanie to breast cancer 10 years ago. Chris is involved in fundraising for cancer causes, including one founded by Stephanie during her fight. And there is interest in creating a motion picture about their lives, based on the book chronicling the Spielmans' battle against the illness. That's why I'm here. The Chris and Stephanie Spielman story. Chris Spielman, who is remarried, on what he has learned about the fight and finding purpose after the loss of a beloved spouse and mother. The one thing I've learned when dealing with people who reach out or people who need help the way I did, and it's a cliche, is to be a good listener. What I tried to do was learn how to try to celebrate our great memories, to allow myself when the time comes to be sad and to mourn, and to grieve. At first I didn't do that. After Stephanie died, in my mind, I treated it like a football game, and I was the football player. I never gave in to the pain or weakness. So when she died, I tried to be upbeat. I kept forcing my kids to think happy thoughts. Your mom would want us to be happy. Finally, one day, I had this conversation with myself. Exactly. Who are you fighting, Chris? Who are you playing against right now? I got so sick of saying, toughen up, dude, and there was so much relief right then. So one of the things I really learned was to not be competing 24/7, all the time. I see Stephanie in my kids. That makes me smile. It's been 10 years. I sometimes see Stephanie or her mannerisms in my wife now. I see a smile on her face that will remind me. I just smile, because I married two tough-ass girls. I thought when Stephanie died I would never get married again. I dated a couple times. I would come home to the room Stephanie died in, and I knew intellectually I wasn't cheating, but I felt like I was cheating. I almost apologized to an empty room. A few months before Stephanie died, she made a video to be watched by us, me and the 4 kids, only after she died. She talked to the kids, each individually. She told them to find a passion. She said she was praying for their future spouses since the day they were born.